Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. What you are seeing on the screen are the two videos that allegedly show Malaysian Flight 370 getting surrounded by three orbs that somehow caused the plane to vanish into thin air. YouTuber and independent MH370 investigator Ashton Forbes recently had a break in the case when he discovered the platform that was used to film the tragedy was a state-of-the-art surveillance system used by the United States Air Force. It's called Gorgon Stare, and it was also integrated with another surveillance system called Argus IS. While Forbes' recent revelation caused debunkers' undies to bunch up in light speed, it also received a blessing from other experts. While Forbes believes the Air Force used plasma orb technology to disappear the plane, I think the culprits might be non-human intelligence, but then again, that's the kind of guy I am. What do you expect me to say? And I actually might be right, though, too. With all due respect to Ashton Forbes. I mean, obviously, Ashton Forbes is the foremost expert on this. And I guess the problem I have, the one issue I have, and we're going to get into all of this here today. The issue I have is I just don't understand why the United States Air Force would decide to cause the deaths of 239 people to test something out. I don't understand. Like, to me, that makes no sense. And if there was something, like, say that now the plane was on its way to Beijing, as people who remember this case, MH370 was on its way to Beijing. Now, maybe there's somebody on there that was going to deliver something to China that was really dangerous to the United States. But I don't think you go killing 239 people to do that. I have a trouble with that. But then again, sometimes I'm naive when it comes to human nature. I get fooled time and time again. But at the same time, I think there's not a lot of evidence that they cause this. Now Ashton Forbes will tell. There's a lot of different. This has been something that's been studied. This plasma orb 0-point technology. This is something that government scientists have been researching. Right, there's papers that have been written about this over 20 years ago. This is something that's been discussed. So that's why I think he thinks that one of the reasons. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, obviously, right? But he thinks that that's who's responsible. That the Air Force did this. They're the ones that caused the plane to disappear, and that's the reason. The issue was for a long time was, and this is one of the issues I had with this case. I know I talked about this a while ago. I did an episode on it like a couple of years ago, probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that, when he was initially talking about this. And my problem with the case at the time was, like, where did this video come from? Like, how do you explain this video? There's no explanation for the video, but now we do have an explanation because this platform, this surveillance system that was developed by the United States Air Force, it basically could film a wide range, a very wide area. I mean, actually, when it's integrated with this other system, it could actually. The range is even further, like it's 40 square kilometers, and basically that's like 15 miles in every direction. And if you have two of them, like you see in this, there were two different point of views, and so that means there were two different drones filming it. Right, there was one that was using color infrared, which is especially for 2014. That's top of the line. Nobody else had anything like that. And then. So there's two different vantage points, two different drones equipped with this technology filming that plane as it gets surrounded by the orbs and then vanishes into whatever, a wormhole, who knows? I don't know how that operates. I mean, that's above my pay grade, unfortunately. But here's the thing. Was it the government who did it, or was it something else? I think it's a possible. I'm not saying I don't know. It could be the government. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying I think another possibility is that it could be NHI, and the reason the government and if that's the case, there's a great reason for covering this up, right? You don't want to let the world know that, wow, commercial airplanes might get surrounded by orbs and then you'll disappear and nobody knows where you go. That would definitely hurt the airline industry for one thing, and would also cause some people to wonder what the hell's going on here. These aliens don't seem too friendly. So that would be one of the reasons to cover it up, if that's what it is. Now, of course, the other reason too, if they did it for kicks or giggles or whatever, right? And the Air Force just tested it out. Let's see what happens to these 239 people if we surround them with these plasma orbs. And, let's just test it out. Who cares? Who cares about their lives? Like, I have trouble with that. I just don't know how an entity like the United States Air Force, which is supposed to be protecting people, would go and do something like that. So that's why I have trouble with it. I think it's my opinion, right? I'm leaning NHI. But besides that, we need to talk about like why this is real now. It seems like it's real, according to the experts, including Scott Rotor, and also another one. We'll start off with Dr. Simon Holland. Or excuse me, Professor Holland. He has a YouTube channel, and here was a little clip from one of his recent episodes when he was talking about this. Check this out.
Let's see what connection there is to MH370. I hope you're intrigued. Right. All right. So I have to say, Ashton Forbes has been incredibly tenacious, despite being ridiculed by the corridor crew, who got it wrong. And lots of other people saying, it's a fake video, what's really going on there? But the more he has stuck to his guns, and the more I have tried to help as a broadcast TV professional, looking into the video evidence for him, I see things in it, which means it's not a hoax. One, it was done incredibly quickly after the MH370 disappeared. Too quick for a hoax or a prankster. Second, the orbs in it go actually behind the aircraft and through the smoke trail, making Newtonian physics happen in the smoke. Why would a hoaxer do that? And yesterday, Ashton really got me interested. That there's two frame rates going on in the video. First of all, the aircraft is 6 frames per second, not boom, 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 boom. Imagine a kind of CCTV frame rate rather than the video signal. Why is very important. But Ashton pointed out something that you should really listen to. The video is at 24, 25 frames per second. That's because, folks, this is big news, really big news. That's because, folks, it's a screen recording on a computer with a variable size window. The person who screen recorded it carefully cropped it not to share classified sensor data, but he did share the cursor as he was moving around. So the whole recording is 24, 25 frames per second, but the aircraft that you're seeing in the screen recording is 6 frames per second. Why would a hoaxer do that? They wouldn't. It's almost impossible to have multiple screen rates in a graphic, to have a graphic going at one speed and a screen recording of the graphic going at a different speed. It nails it for me. Whatever we're seeing, and that's a great debate, whatever happened to MH370, whoever filmed it, and whatever we're seeing on the screen isn't a hoax. It was captured by a high altitude Reaper or aerostat, I believe, type of drone, a surveillance drone running a piece of software called Gorgon Stare, which you need to understand. Gorgon Stare is not a video camera. It's not a video camera on a satellite. Like we all think, the opening scenes of Enemy of the State and the NRO, where a satellite's flying over the city and it picks you up and it zooms in, it can read your... No. It's much better than that. Gorgon Stair takes in the whole city with multiple data from multiple satellites, multiple sensors, infrared, SAR, some optical, and lots of other data such as cell phone and voice and everything. What Gorgon Stair is an unbelievably wide aspect sensor data that you, as a mere human, cannot interpret by looking at the raw data.
Okay, so you have that, and also you have Scott Rotor posted this on X yesterday. He writes, I am officially on record. The footage promoted by Ashton Forbes associated with the disappearance of MH370 is consistent with the imaging characteristics and operational parameters of the United States military's Gorgon Stair Increment 2 system integrating Argus IS Increment 2. As a forensic crime scene reconstruction expert with over 2 decades of experience in evidentiary standards, I apply the same scrutiny to this footage that I would to any contested visual evidence admitted in court. Through expert consultation, including credible voices in physics, propulsion, and aeronautical imaging, Ashton Forbes has presented sufficient corroborative technical detail, including metadata, frame rate analysis, and flight behavior patterns, to meet the threshold of authenticity to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty. This is not a belief. This is an expert conclusion rooted in methodology. In United States courts, both state and federal, that standard is sufficient to admit forensic video evidence as credible and probative. Dismissals by professional skeptics like Mick West, who frequently offer alternative explanations without evidentiary burden, do not disprove the footage. They ignore the cumulative forensic indicators in favor of speculative hand-waving. Until substantive counter-evidence is presented with equal methodological rigor, this footage should be treated as a legitimate leak of military surveillance data. Ashton Forbes has met his burden. This conversation needs to advance. And I replied to this, and this is why I said the debate to me now is this: was it a government operation to disappear the plane, or was NHI responsible? It could be argued that Gorgon Stair, because of its ability to capture so much information from so many directions and distances, inadvertently captured the incident. What else did I write? The reason for the cover-up in this scenario becomes obvious. You can't let the public know that sometimes NHI send out orbs that make commercial planes disappear off the face of the planet, and nobody knows what happens to the passengers. This might explain the numerous disappearances over places like the Bermuda Triangle over the decades. This might be one of the reasons so many whistleblowers express concerns about encountering UAP when Air Force or Navy pilots take to the skies. And also, there was another comment here. Yeah, I was in response to something. Yeah, somebody else commented. This was somebody named Haju Dekujian says, the drones are slow propeller drones, so they had to be planned ahead by the United States military. This makes it their operation. Now, the only option here is this is a collaboration with ETs providing the plasma orb tech. However, this seems less likely since the declassified DIRD papers show us it is very much possible human tech too. Can you come up with any indication or even evidence this was a collab with ETs? Well, I don't know about that. I mean, all I'm saying, it could be. I mean, anything's possible here. We don't know. I don't think that we. In fact, I did when I talked to Rotor. Like he agrees that this thing is real now. There's enough evidence here that this, you might be able to take this to a court of law and prove this, that this was filmed using this Gorgon Stare technology. However, like he doesn't know if for certain that the United States Air Force is responsible for having the plane disappear. But what other like Ashton and other people are saying that it's just like why would those drones be in that area all ready to film that incident? Like how could they be there? And my explanation for this is the platform can film over 30 miles in every direction. That's if it's using two of them. From the research that I've been conducting here. I mean, there were two of them, right? One of them is a little over, if you have one, it has a range of up to a little over 15 miles, square miles. And if you have two of them and they're placed in the right areas, right, apart, far enough away from each other, you could be capturing everything around in that area 30 miles in every direction. It's amazing technology. Like right now, they could be, when you're out in your backyard, they could see you cutting your grass possibly, easily. Anyway, this is what I wrote. I wrote back to this guy saying, this platform can film over 30 miles in every direction. Doesn't that mean there's a chance it could have been in the right area at the right time? I think that chance exists, hence the possibility it inadvertently captured an NHI theft / destruction / whatever of the plane. I mean, there's a lot of different possibilities that could explain this. I mean, when you think about it, like for instance, like from the NHI scenario, in the NHI scenario, for instance, okay, say there was something going on involving NHI at the time. The United States government had that platform in the area, and they were trying to shoot something down with some other aircraft that we don't even know about that was there. And then there was a retaliation by the aliens. Okay, you want to do that? Okay, we'll send out our orbs and we're going to cause your plane to disappear. So now get out of here. Maybe it's something like that. There's all kinds of possibilities here. But the fact of the matter is I think what we're seeing here now is that this seems to be real based on you're having different experts now, not just Ashton saying this. There's other people now here stepping up and getting behind him and saying, yeah, this looks like it's Gorgon Stare. There's no other. You heard Professor Simon Holland there. It can't be anything else. That's what it is, right? So I'm going to listen to those guys. I'm not going to listen to some internet rando who doesn't believe it, right? Or the government who won't even talk about it, for instance. So yeah, I think that they had that technology out there that day for who knows what reason, and they captured that incident happening. And then it goes, the other questions come up then if it is NHI. Now, if it's the government doing this, then people need to be arrested and thrown in prison and all that kind of stuff, of course, right? There needs to be an investigation. Congress needs to get in, and Congress needs to look into this now. That's what needs to happen. Congress, everybody needs to get in it on this now. You got to look at this and say, you have experts out there now telling you, yeah, this is real. This video wasn't faked, like Mick West has been saying. And remember, Mick West, the same guy, right, who won't talk about the Vegas alien evidence. The same guy. He's afraid he can't do it. So how can you trust him? He said the Vegas aliens were just raccoons and coyotes. Come on. And now how could you believe him with anything else? I don't care how many times he insists and bangs his feet and stamps his feet and says, no. It doesn't matter. The guy, you can't trust him. So I think this needs to be investigated. I think that Congress needs to get involved, and there needs to be some questions asked. I mean, what happened here? So the bottom line is this: I think that it's very possible that at this point, I think you could say that when you have different experts agreeing that this was Gorgon Stare was used to film this, so that means it must be real, right? This means that's why they couldn't find any records, right? Now there were some reports that little pieces of records were found here and there, but who knows if that was real? Who knows if that was just who knows if that was just planted right now after this? I mean, you know the games they play, the lies they tell, right? This is what the CIA does. So I think there needs to be more investigation. I think Congress needs to get involved, and questions need to be asked. And the Air Force, I can't make myself believe that the Air Force would do something like this, just murder 239 people just like that. I just can't see it. I just don't believe it. I have trouble believing, even though, as Ashton Forbes has shown, that they have been studying. There have been scientists talking about this for years. There's been papers written about it. I mean, so... I don't know. I don't think so. I hope not. Let's put it that way. I think NHI could be involved, but it explains a lot, though, if it is NHI, right? A lot of other disappearances that have happened over the years, like the Valentic Case back, 1978. Anyway, I just want to run through some other things here with regard to this. Yeah, I actually asked some questions. I went at the ChatGPT to get some more, ask some questions and just to get for information, just to try to gather information with regard to this. And Gorgon Stair, it says here, it's a wide area surveillance system developed by the United States Air Force for use on unmanned aerial vehicles or UAVs, particularly the MQ-9 Reaper drone. Its primary function is to provide persistent real-time video surveillance over large areas, essentially functioning as a high-tech eye in the sky. And hold on a second, let's scroll down. I'm going to skip through some of this. And then it talks about advanced versions, and I think, and this is what seems to be what was used here in this case in March of 2014. It says later versions of Gorgon Stair, or its integration with other systems like Argus IS, which can monitor up to 40 square kilometers or 15 square miles, may extend the surveillance area considerably. But traditional Gorgon Stair is designed for city block level persistent surveillance, not wide regional coverage. And then I asked some more questions there. I said, how far can Gorgon Stair Increment 2 system integrating Argus IS see? It says here, the Gorgon Stair Increment 2, which integrates the Argus IS, which is an autonomous real-time ground ubiquitous surveillance imaging system, represents a major leap in aerial surveillance capability. Here's a breakdown of how far and wide it can see. Up to the surveillance area is up to 40 square miles or 40 square kilometers or 15.4 square miles. So you see the resolution is 1.8 gigapixels and that's for the Argus IS. There's a lot of different technical information here. There's a lot of information you can get on the internet, but I do recommend that people check out some of Ashton Forbes' recent videos on YouTube, and also I'll leave links for that. In addition to that, I'll also leave a link to the Professor Simon video where he discusses this. Let's see what else. If centered over a city, it can surveil entire downtown core, multiple city blocks or small towns. From a central point, it would cover about 2.2 miles outward in all directions, creating a full disk area 4.4 miles across. Additional notes, the Argus IS alone captures imagery from 368 cameras using smartphone-sized sensors and stitches them into one massive mosaic. Gorgon Stair Increment 2 uses the integration for real-time monitoring and forensic backtracking over a massive area, ideal for urban battlefield surveillance or identifying threats in complex environments. And then I asked this question. I said, would there be any reason to fly two drones equipped with this technology somewhat close to one another? Yes, there are strategic reasons to fly two drones equipped with Gorgon Stair Increment 2 Argus IS technology close to one another, even though each can cover a wide area. Here's why. Basically, it gives you reasons why it could be, because it doubles the area, basically. Later on, I asked this question. I said, would two drones working in tandem be capable of doubling the square miles? And the answer, yes. Two drones working in tandem can effectively double the square mileage covered, but with important conditions. Yes, their coverage areas do not overlap. Then one drone equals 15.4 square miles, and two drones equals 30.8 square miles. So you would be looking at over 30 miles. And, maybe it was just an instance where those drones were just in the right place at the right time, or the wrong place at the right time. I mean, whatever which way you want to look at it, right? If they overlap, though, then you don't get that total coverage it says here. And I actually posed some other questions later on, too. I wrote this. I said, it has been suggested that the orb technology, whether extraterrestrial, NHI, or human-made, observed in the video ultimately causes the plane to disappear into a wormhole. If this is true, where do you think the plane went? And the answer is, that's a fascinating and complex question, and it sits at the crossroads of aerospace mystery, theoretical physics, and conspiratorial speculation. And then it gives a breakdown here. It says, would it go? According to physics, a wormhole in theoretical physics is a hypothetical bridge through space-time, possibly connecting distant parts of the universe, times, or dimensions. If real and traversable, MH370 could have gone to another point on Earth, another planet, solar system, or galaxy, a parallel universe or dimension, a non-temporal location outside of linear time. But here's the catch. We have no empirical evidence that wormholes exist or are usable by technology, human or otherwise. And then number 2, it says, if it did go somewhere, why no return? A few hypothetical reasons. The destination was too far or hostile to return from. The plane was intentionally taken for observation, protection, abduction, or other motives. Let's just stop there for a second. Now, obviously, when you're looking at that video, and if it's real, like it seems to be now, right? Those orbs, there was intelligence there. I mean, that just doesn't happen, right? I mean, something was behind that. Something's responsible. Someone or something is responsible, right? That's the bottom line. Anyway, continuing, it says, time dilation or other relativistic effects mean for the passengers no time has passed. The plane is elsewhere and the means of return does not exist or hasn't been permitted. And then there's key challenges with the wormhole theory. No wreckage or debris from a plane doesn't prove teleportation. It just leaves a gap in data. Wormholes are a tool of speculative physics not yet supported by experimental observation. Any tech capable of forming and stabilizing one would require absurdly high energy, like negative energy density or Planck scale manipulation. And these are a lot of things that I'm sure I don't understand, and I'm sure some of you out there don't understand when it comes to this. But the bottom line here, it says, if the video is authentic and accurately shows orbs surrounding and dematerializing MH370, we are not dealing with conventional physics or geopolitics. We are in unknown territory involving either breakaway human tech, non-human intelligence, or an extremely sophisticated deception. Where the plane went in this view could be a distant location in space-time, a classified location on Earth, or simply nowhere we yet understand. I think if I was to make a choice, like if somebody came busting in my door right now and put a gun up to my head and demanded I come up with pick a choice here, I'd probably go, no, I would probably say, or simply nowhere we yet understand. I think that's probably the case. Later on, I asked this question. I said, let's compare this case to other strange disappearances. How many aircraft and ships disappeared over the Bermuda Triangle where no trace was ever found? Well, the Bermuda Triangle, a region in the North Atlantic Ocean, roughly bounded by Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, has been the site of numerous reported disappearances of ships and aircraft. While exact numbers vary, estimates suggest that over 50 ships and 20 airplanes have vanished in this area without a trace. Without a trace, ladies and gentlemen. So you have to wonder, if some of these instances involved these orbs. You never know. Back in 1945, for instance, Flight 19, 5 United States Navy bombers vanished during a training mission. A rescue plane sent after them also disappeared. And back in 1918, the USS Cyclops was a U.S. Navy cargo ship carrying over 300 men. It disappeared en route from Brazil to Baltimore. No wreckage was ever found. I'm sure these orbs, I'm just thinking out loud here, if they could make a plane disappear, I'm sure they can make a ship disappear too, right? Why not? Here was another case. There are two cases here from 48 and 49. The BSAA Star Tiger in 1948 and the Star Ariel in 1949. 2 British South American Airways aircraft disappeared over the Atlantic Ocean. Extensive searches yielded no results. And then another one in 1948, Airborne Transport DC-3. A flight from Puerto Rico to Miami vanished with 32 people on board. No trace was found. Now, of course, some of these instances, and this is what ChatGPT concludes as well, is that some of them will have plausible explanations. I'm sure that some of these things could have crashed, and there's plausible explanations. Just everything sunk to the bottom of the ocean, and there's no trace. You'll never find anything. I mean, the oceans are very large, and they're easy. It would be easy for something to crash and sink, and we'll never find any part of it. But some cases, especially when you talk about the Bermuda Triangle, it's really strange, some of the things that happen there. Right? It's really strange. You would have to think that it's possible. I mean, if now that we're looking at this Malaysian Flight 370 through a new lens here, it seems that looks like this was real, perhaps, right? I mean, even though when you're looking at it, I mean, it's still hard to believe, right? At the same time, though, if it's real, then this might explain some disappearances that we never were able to solve, or there was no trace, no evidence left behind ever. Who knows? Okay, and it says here, while the Bermuda Triangle has a reputation for mysterious vanishings, it's important to note that the United States Coast Guard and other authorities do not recognize it as an unusually hazardous area. Many of the reported incidents have been shown to have logical explanations, and the region remains one of the most heavily traveled shipping lanes in the world. I mean, maybe that's the other thing. You got to keep that in mind, too. I mean, the fact that it is a heavily traveled area, I mean, of course, if it's heavily traveled, there's going to be more disappearances there, so you got to keep that in mind, too. Anyway, another question I asked was, I said, if it is proven beyond doubt that the MH370 videos showing orbs surrounding the plane caused it to vanish to an unknown location, what would that mean? Some of the unsolved Bermuda Triangle disappearances, along with other mysterious disappearances across the world, might have experienced the same fate? And the answer is, if it were proven beyond doubt that the MH370 orb videos are real and show a technological or non-human intelligence event causing the plane to vanish into another location or dimension, then yes, it would radically reshape how we understand other unsolved disappearances, including those in the Bermuda Triangle and elsewhere. And that is something that we should think about, because apparently people are saying, yes, this does prove it. This proves that those videos were real. They weren't they weren't the result of somebody just creating special effects and just putting that out there as a hoax. That's what the experts are telling us now. Ashton Forbes, you have other people now on joining up with them, like Scott Rotor and Professor Simon there. Okay, it says here, and if they were caused by orbs, the disappearance, it says here, then logically we would have confirmed evidence that that matter can be surrounded by autonomous objects, manipulated or scanned, instantaneously relocated or dematerialized. And it's not just, I don't know if this just, we're just talking about planes here and ships disappearing either. I mean, what about people who just disappear mysteriously in the middle of nowhere, there's so many of those that happen. You're walking in the woods, somebody's right behind you, and next thing you know, you turn around 1 second, they're there, the next 2-3 seconds later, they disappeared, and there's no sign of them anywhere, and nobody could ever find them. Search teams go out, and then they just disappear forever, and there's no trace. That happens a lot. I mean, there's all these different YouTube channels out there that I've been watching recently, all for a while now, Missing 411, the Missing Enigma, the Missing Void. There's a whole bunch of channels out there that just focus on people who go missing under mysterious circumstances. It's very, very fascinating, and you have to wonder, maybe people too. I don't know. That's the thing. This makes it. This is why, if this was If, like, say, for instance, Edward Lin was the person that leaked these videos, right? Like some people are saying, he leaked the videos. Then you understand why the government, if it's NHI responsible for the disappearance of MH370, then you could understand why the government would want to keep this covered up. They don't want people to know about this. Right? They probably don't understand it themselves. I mean, they understand, they might have hypotheses, obviously, on how the technology works, but are they capable of doing this themselves? Again, I don't know. These are a lot of questions we don't know the answers to. And that's why I think at this point, based on what's happened here in the past week, Congress is going to have to get involved. Just like I think Congress needs to get involved with the Vegas alien incident. They need to talk about that. They need to bring the Department of Defense in and sit them down during a live hearing and say, show them all the evidence with regard to that, and just say, look there's aliens in this. There's no question about it. I mean, you have to be a dummy to think otherwise. So you're going to tell us you don't know anything about this? It's time. The world could deal with it. It's time to disclose all of this stuff. Anyway, there was some other questions I asked later on. Now, I use ChatGPT. No, I'll tell you why I'm starting to use this more often these days. Because I don't trust Wikipedia, for one thing. That's one of the reasons. I just don't trust it. Because it's infiltrated with these debunker cultists. So I can't, I'd rather use this for research. Okay, they had a final thought here. It says, if MH370 was taken by orbs using unknown tech, we'd be forced to rewrite not just aviation history, but parts of physics, geopolitics, and even consciousness science. It would absolutely reopen hundreds of other mysterious cases, some long forgotten, as possibly linked phenomena. And then I asked this question. I said, would the Frederick Valentic case fall into this category? Yes, the Frederick Valentic case is exactly the kind of disappearance that would take on renewed and profound significance if the MH370 orb footage was ever verified as authentic evidence of advanced, possibly non-human technology. Of course, Valentic, he disappeared on October 21st, 1978 over the Bass Strait south of Victoria, Australia. He was flying a Cessna 182L. He was only 20 years old, and there was no records and no body was ever found. The final transmission was, it's hovering and it's not an aircraft. It was something, he was talking about a UFO was following him. And here's some, they have some of the similarities between these, the MH370 and the Valentic case. In the MH370, 3+ orbs circling plane. Valentic case, one green-lit craft circling plane, 1 to 4 green-lit plant, it says, 1 to 4 green-lit craft circling the plane. The object behavior in the MH370, orbs, orbit, then vanish aircraft. In the Valentic case, the object hovers, paces, circles aircraft. In the MH370, it vanished in midair. In the Valentic case, the plane disappears with no wreckage. Electromagnetic disturbance interference. In the MH370 case, the radar signal was lost. In the Valentic case, engine reportedly malfunctioned. Both of them are still unexplained. Government and what is the government silence and skepticism. In the MH370, it's debated, minimal transparency. In the Valentic case, initially dismissed as illusion/panic. And it also says here, if MH370 was taken via advanced propulsion/teleportation/orb tech, then Valentic's report could have described a similar capture event on a smaller scale. The green light and metallic reflections align with many orb/UAP sightings. Engine trouble and static on radio are consistent with the electromagnetic interference commonly reported in UAP cases. If the orbs are real and capable of relocating aircraft, Valentic may have experienced a deliberate interception. And then the conclusion here was, yes, the Valentic disappearance would strongly align with the MH370 orb hypothesis if verified. Both involve credible flight records, in-flight interaction with maneuvering aerial objects, no wreckage or emergency beacon, possible interdimensional or non-terrestrial tech. I also asked this question, and this is how I think I closed it out, yes. I said, is it possible that Frederick Valentic and the passengers of MH370 are still alive somewhere, somehow? That's a profound and difficult question, one that touches both the limits of our science and the edge of human imagination. Let's explore it from multiple grounded perspectives here. Okay, they have all different kinds of possibilities here, but we're going to go right to the final thought. It says here, if the MH370 orb video is real and if Valentic's account was truthful, then yes, it's at least possible that they are alive somewhere or somehow, but not by any mechanism we understand or can reproduce. If non-human intelligence has the means to extract humans and aircraft without a trace, then their survival is no longer a question of probability, it becomes a question of intent. So that we go. I mean, that's I thought that because, I always think about the beginning of the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where, old World War II airplanes show up they in the desert somewhere and that were disappeared. They disappeared over the Bermuda Triangle. And so you wonder, maybe these people are still alive. How do we know? We don't know. That's the thing. We don't know. Probably not. But, when people disappear, you don't know, especially in circumstances like this and under very strange circumstances like this. I guess it's possible, right? It's possible when there's no trace really of anything found. What else? Maybe they are. If they're taken somewhere at light speed to another planet, for all, decades could have passed here, right? And they're still alive. Maybe they're still, for all we know, maybe Valentic is only 23 years old right now. Maybe Valentic didn't even arrive at his destination yet. He's still 20 years old. I mean, while we're all aging and moving on, right? He's not even at his destination yet because they're traveling light speed or beyond light speed to get to some other world right now. Who knows? Again, it's all speculation. I guess the bottom line in today's, the main point here is that it seems that those videos, which, Ashton was talking about for a long time now, and finally he gets a break in this and he's able to show how all the technical aspects to these videos line up with what Gorgon Stare and this Argus IS would provide. That's the bottom line here. So that makes it that they're real now. You hear other experts now getting behind him, so that means it's real. So that's what's happening sometimes, it seems. Sometimes this happens. That's the bottom line. And who's responsible? That's the next question. That's where we need to go next, I think. We need to know who's responsible. Now, I have trouble with the one element of Forbes's hypothesis that the United States government is responsible, that the Air Force did this on purpose for some reason. I can't believe that. I have trouble believing. I can't believe that there are enough people in the Air Force that would do something this monstrous just for an experiment or whatever. That's murder, right? So I don't believe it. That's why I think it was NHI. I think I'm leaning in that area, in that direction. NHI, that's what I think. Doesn't make me right, of course. It's just what I think. Now, unless somebody comes up with other evidence here, we'll see. I mean, I think this most certainly needs more investigation at this point. That's no doubt about that. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up now. I want to say this. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.